Hey everyone, my name is Chloe, and today I'm here to do the first half of September wrap-up. So I'm going to do things a little bit differently than I have in the past. What I always do is I give you my stats for the month and then just go through the books in the order that I read them. And I go middle grade, young adult, and then adult. So by age range and then in the order that I read them. However, in my stats, I typically include the books that I read with my daughters as well as the books that I read independently. And I'm just not really loving that because I want to know my personal reading stats, like not necessarily the stats of including their books. So I am going to talk to you about the books that I am reading with them briefly. But the stats and most of my time is going to be spent on the books that I'm reading for myself. So let's just get into it. Knowing that numbers and things are going to be a little bit different, but I feel like they're going to be more helpful to me and probably to you guys. So in the first half of September, I read 12 books. Now, the caveat to that is there is some pre-reading that I did for my kids that we'll talk about as we go. But anyway, 12 books, 3,788 pages. It's 253 pages per day. The average length of book was 316 pages. So it's about 0.8 books per day. I read 10 novels, 1 graphic novel, and 1 devotional. We finished the devotional, so I'm counting it in this month or in this section of time because that's when we finished it. But anyway, 7 were adult, 1 was young adult, and 4 were middle grade. 8 were from my shelf and 4 were from somewhere else. And that is one stat that I really am happy that is my reading only now. Because I personally really want to be reading more off my shelf than from anywhere else. But with my kids, I'm fine just using the library exclusively even. So I feel good having that stat be my individual reading. 6, and then with that, I read 8 from my shelf, 4 from somewhere else. But I also use digital resources to read the books in a way that's more convenient, because if I was relying only on physical, it would not happen nearly as quickly. So I read 6 from Libby, 4 just from my shelf, and 2 from the library. 6 were audio, 5 were physical, and 1 was an ebook. 1 was new release, and 11 were backlist. And then as far as genre goes, I had 4 contemporary, 3 mystery thriller, 2 nonfiction, 2 women's fiction, and 1 romance. So again, still all over the board, even just including my own. So as far as star ratings go, I had a 2-star, a 2.5 star, 3 3-stars. 4 3.5 stars, and then 1 4-star, 1 5-star. Makes it an average of 3.33. So I did have the 5-star that it feels like never comes, but overall the month was just okay. So let's just get into it. And start, like I said, I'm going to start with middle grade, tell you what I read with my kids versus what I read for myself, and we'll just keep on keeping on. So the first one is a DNF. This is Wish Trap, which is Star Friends number 2. The premise of this series is, so we read the first one quite a while ago, and I didn't love it, and I couldn't remember why, and we saw like a copy of this at the library bookstore, and my daughter said, can we buy it? I said, no, but let's borrow it. Well, I'm glad I didn't buy it because the premise of this series is that these kids there's these magical animals called Star Friends, and they make these connections with these kids, and together they work together to fight dark magic. And it just crossed some really blurry lines between my faith as a Christian and what was going on in this book. And so it was a good discussion starter of why we kind of filter what we read. There's nothing inherently bad in this as far as it's definitely made for a middle grade audience, and it's not inappropriate. It just is not in alignment with what we believe. And so it was a good conversation starter for my girls, but we did not read this. So there's that. But then we did read some more of a series that we've been loving, and that's the Critter Club. So we read number 7, which is Liz at Marigold Lake. Her and her family go camping every year, and her friends come and join her. She's a vegan. I really enjoyed this book. Next is Marion Strikes a Pose. There's a costume design contest or an outfit design contest. And so Marion is trying to win that, and she ends up helping one of her competitors. And Then we've got Amy's Very Merry Christmas. So this one is all about like hospitality and helping people, taking people in when they don't have anywhere else to go. And I really like this. This series is so good. Next is a series that I'm okay about, they're okay about. It's not my favorite, but it's actually getting better and better, which is something that I feel like never happens, and that's Daisy Dreamer. So this is Posey to Class Pest. So the premise of this series is that Posey, this little girl named Daisy, she draws this imaginary creature named Posey. He comes to life, and he lives in the world of make-believe, so she gets to go there, and he comes into the real world, all that kind of stuff. And now that they're being set more in the real world, I'm enjoying them more, because the world of make-believe I felt like was not completely thought out. But anyway, so this one, Posey comes to school with her and creates all sorts of havoc. And then Pop Goes the Bubble Trouble. This one was set in the world of make-believe when they are these little like vending machine toys, and they're real in the world of make-believe. They're not in the real world. And so they, the two worlds kind of cross, and it was interesting. It was fun. Next is The Bad Butterfly, Billie B. Brown, The Bad Butterfly. This is the start of Billie B. Brown is the name of the series. It's this young girl, and these are books that my daughter is reading independently. If you can see, they're like 45 pages, and they are great beginning chapter books. These are Kane Miller is the publisher, which is aligned with Usborne, which is now Paper Pie. And I sell that, and my link is down below if you ever want to check these out. But these are such good beginner readers. And she has a best friend named Jack, and there's also a series about Jack. But anyway, I read this because I wanted to pre-read. I had bought my daughter the series, and I wanted to just let her loose on it, but I wanted to pre-read, and I cannot keep up with her. So I read this first one, and then I'm just talking to her frequently about the books, and they're 46 pages, like they take like 10 minutes to read, but she's on for me to read, but she's on book like 10 or 12 and just in a couple days, and so she is loving these. This one is actually a really fun one. Her and Jack are doing dance class, and all the girls are cast as butterflies, and the boys are cast as like gnomes or something. And she's like kind of a bull in a china shop, whereas Jack's really graceful. So it questions those like gender stereotypes, and he becomes the butterfly, she becomes the gnome, and I really like that. I'm enjoying the series, but I've not read all of them nearly as much as my daughter. Next is a middle grade that I read for myself, based on my September book haul revisit. So you will see that probably next week, because I'm still in the middle of it, guys. But it's Jelly by Jo Cotterrill. So this is a middle grade about a young girl who is overweight, and she kind of masks her insecurities with humor. And I liked this book. I'm not going to say a whole lot about it here, but I liked this book. I just thought that it lacked... Well, it didn't have as clear of a focus. So like something like Starfish, it was hyperbolic of the bullying that she encountered, but it was really focused on the bullying and overcoming what other people say about you to find your inner confidence and your worth, and that you are valuable and all that kind of stuff. This one, she also writes music or poetry to kind of deal with things. And so it has that same message of overcoming bullying, being who you are, being good with who you are, standing up for yourself, all of that. But there's a lot of like extraneous stuff that was tapped on but not really dived into. So like her mom is a single mom, and has multiple boyfriends. Jelly starts her period. There's different things that it's like it lacked a little bit of focus, and her story touched on so many things that I think it kind of reduced some relatability. But I don't know. I still enjoyed it, and I think I gave this like 3.5 stars. Next is a graphic novel called Kodi, and this is by Jared Cullum. So I think it was Keisha from A Book Like You that was talking about this middle grade graphic novel, and I really liked it. And so then I read it, and my daughter was like, "Can I read that?" And I was like, "Sure." It's about this little girl who makes friends with a bear named Kodi. And then they get separated, and they're finding their way back to each other. This was just okay for me, but I enjoyed it, and my daughter really had fun reading her first graphic novel. So there's that. And then the last middle grade I also read independently, and it is The Best Family Ever by Karen Kingsbury. So this is the first in her Baxter Family Kids or something series. So this is the the Baxter, I mean, I've talked about it a million times. The Baxter family is a series that is like so all encompassing by Karen Kingsbury. And so I think it's about a family with like 5 kids, and they are kids in this one. Whereas I think in the adult series, they're all adults. So, I don't know anything about the Baxters, but this one was interesting. I read it because I didn't know it was a thing, so I got it and wanted to read it before I gave it to my daughter. And I think it's a little old for her. She's a Christian fiction author, but the kids in this, I think, are like, the main one we follow is like 11, and so I think this is definitely one we'll wait a little bit. This also is pretty seasonal. It starts with well, it's not seasonal, but it starts with Valentine's Day and kind of works its way through the year. And I thought that was fun. But it definitely talks about like crushes and liking people and all that kind of stuff that is not inappropriate, but it's just not appropriate for or like not something my 5-year-old really knows about or relates to. So we'll save this one. I definitely think we'll read it again later. So then the devotional is Indescribable, 100 Devotions About God and Science. And this is by Louie Giglio. This is one of the ones in a 3-part kind of series, if you will. We read How Great Is Our God, I think is the first one, and really liked it. And then there's this one. So every day is a devotional like this. And it says a verse and then like some little known maybe science fact and how that relates to scripture. And I really like this one. This one is primarily focused on space. Of course, the one I opened to was not, but this is heavy emphasis on space stuff. And I felt like as an adult, it got a little redundant and like kind of hard to even wrap your brain around, but especially as a child, like trillions, billions, millions, really they're all the same in my 5-year-old's mind. And so, the space stuff kind of went over her head. But I love the way this connects like little known facts and faith, and that we like learned some science stuff as well as had an opportunity to get in the word. So I really like this and would recommend. There's one more that we have not read, and we'll be getting it sometime. We took a break and we're doing something else, but yeah, so good. Next is the YA book. So I read number 3 in American Royals, which is called Rivals. And this one I gave, 3.5 stars. So this one was not my favorite of the series by any means. And this is so it's hard to even talk about because if you don't know the characters, it's not going to make sense. But there are, the premise of the series is about what would have happened if America would have become a monarchy instead of a democracy and the Washington family is ruling. And by some circumstances, the country is being run by 20-somethings, young 20-somethings. And so the series is all like, what would happen if that was the case? And honestly, I find myself thinking like, would we be better off being run by 20-something drama-filled angsty stuff? I don't know. But so in this one, two people team up against another. That's why it's called Rivals. But Beatrice is, I don't even want to say anything. Gosh, I don't even want to say anything. This one's just not my favorite. I felt like Beatrice her storyline was really underdeveloped, and it was just kind of filler. And then I liked the other stories, but it left with a cliffhanger that is like, holy moly, I have got to read the 4th one ASAP. So it was not my favorite, but I'm still so super excited to keep reading. So now the adult books. So I read Learning to Swim by Sarah J. Henry. And honestly, this one I feel like I've talked about a lot. I finished it on the 1st of September. So maybe I have already talked about it. I don't know. But this one was just okay. This is about a girl or a woman who she's like on a ferry, sees another ferry, sees this something fall off and assumes it's a kid and jumps in to save it. And it is a supposedly like 5-year-old kid, which that is a large 5-year-old. But that only speaks French. And so she takes it upon herself to try to find this kid's parents. And there's a lot of like crime stuff that they were involved in. It's definitely marketed as like a thriller, and it kind of is, I guess. It gets kind of into crime ring stuff. It was just okay for me. I think I gave it 2 stars. I didn't love it. And I read this. I'll link the vlogs and stuff that I had this month down below. You guys, it is Sunday at 11 o'clock. We went to church this morning. Like Sundays, I feel like my brain is crazy because we get up, go to church, like it's all just a rush, which is a different conversation. But that's my only filming time, and I feel like my brain is mush. But I don't honestly remember a ton of this, but I gave it 2 stars. Next is the 5-Star Weekend by Ellen Hildebrand. And this one is a fun one, a fun idea about this woman. She is like kind of, I would say maybe like Giada De Laurentiis or something. She's got like a cooking show, but she's almost like Martha Stewart-y. I don't know. And she has some stuff going on. Life has been kind of hard, and so she decides to take model a weekend off of another influencer that she saw that did a 5-star weekend. So basically, she's in her 50s, and so she invites people from every decade of her life. So like her best friend when she was a teen, when she was a 20s, when she's 30, when she's 50, all that. And they have no connection to each other except her. They don't know each other, whatever. They all get together for a weekend, and there's a lot of drama ensues. This definitely didn't always feel like 50-year-olds because there's a lot of like cattiness and drama. And 2 of the ones, like the one that she's a teenager with and a 20s with, have some bad blood. So there's all that going on. I enjoyed it. It wasn't my favorite, but it was cute. 3 stars. Next is Alphabet Weekends by Elizabeth Noble. So this one I buddy read with one of my subscribers, Angela. She's awesome. I think she ended up DNFing this, and I read it and enjoyed it. I gave it 3.5. So this is definitely not going to be the book for everybody because this is really broad focused. So this, in general, the premise would lead you to believe this is about a couple who has been really good friends forever, and he's kind of pining after her, wishing it was more. And so he says, give me 26 weekends, every letter of the alphabet. So one weekend we'll do something with A, then B, then C, et cetera, et cetera. And they go back and forth kind of planning these weekends to see if they can get to know each other better and see if there is anything there. And that sounds so cute, and that is part of the book. But we also get perspectives of his brother and what's going on in his life, her parents, what's going on in their life, her sister. Like, there's a lot of extraneous stuff, and I would say the romance part is, kind of secondary. Like, not necessarily secondary. It's not the main focus. And so Angela, I think, did not like this because it was so kind of all over the place. I really did I liked it because I don't mind stories like that. This is not heavy on plot, and there's some dates that what the setup is, but you don't really get to see much of it. So definitely tread with caution. This is a women's fiction, not a romance, and I enjoyed it. Next is, Second Chance by James Patterson, and this is number 2 in his Women's Murder Club series, and I didn't like this really at all. I gave it 2.5 stars. So the premise of the series is 4 women who are all in different areas of crime come together. So there's a medical examiner, there's a defense attorney, there's a, I can't even remember what they all are. Medical examiner, defense attorney, reporter, and a detective. There you go. And so they're all coming together again for a second crime. And this one, the first one, is the only book in the series that James Patterson wrote solo, and I liked it a lot better than this one. This one is with Andrew Goss, and I know Andrew Goss was the co-writer on the first 2, 3, and 4, I think. And I just didn't like this because it had the exact same formula as the first one, and there were some chauvinist remarks that were yucky for me. I don't know. I honestly don't remember a lot of details about this. Some plot lines got confusing. It was just meh. I don't know. I'm really nervous to read on. So if you guys have read more of this series, let me know your thoughts. Is it worth continuing? I definitely want to read number 5 probably, because that's a different co-author. That's the one who has co-authored now the rest of them. So maybe, I don't know. Anyway, Then I read one that I don't have a copy of, and that's The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry by John Mark Comer. 5 stars. Loved this. This one, like, speaks to my soul in everything that I've been thinking lately and feeling lately. We are, what I say is just very overscheduled right now, and we are constantly rushing from place to place to place. And part of that is trying to figure out the balance of homeschool and sports and enrichment stuff and activities. Like, it's really important to me that my kids are involved because we do homeschool and we're all very extroverted. And so we don't want to be at home. So there's a balance, and we are just so hurried right now. And so that's something I'm thinking about and praying about, and have, like, it's just been really heavy on my heart lately. And then this book is like exactly about that, and about just slowing down and just being ruthless and living like a slower, simpler life, and having time to smell the roses, and he also talks about like having less stuff, which is also something that, like, I mean, my shelves are cluttered and full, and that's really the only thing that I'm okay with, being cluttered and full. Otherwise, like, I don't need minimalism, but I need less stuff, because just the chaos, it's like the chaos of our schedule, the chaos of the stuff, it's all chaos. And so this is one that I think I'm going to buy on Libro FM so I can listen to it multiple times, because I found it really relatable and really inspiring to, like, strip us back to bare bones for a while and just do the basics and then add in as necessary. So I love this book and I would highly recommend. And then the last one is another for my September book haul revisit, The Truth About Comfort Cove by Tara Taylor Quinn. Jeez, as I hit myself in the face. This one is signed and personalized, and I am really, I love it for that. The author is so sweet and sent them to me. This is a romantic suspense, but I would say it's honestly more of like a mystery thriller with a romantic element. And there was a kidnapping a long time ago, and now these two are trying to figure out what happened. And like I said, it is thriller with like a background romance, and I really enjoy that. I have a hard time with romantic suspense because I feel like the balance is often weird, but this one was pretty good. That being said, it wasn't my favorite thriller ever, but 3.5 stars, I would definitely recommend. So that is everything that I read in the first half of the month. What is the best thing you guys read? Have you read any of these things? Do you like the stats being just my reading? I think I do, so I'm gonna leave it that way. But anyway, that is everything. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you in the next one.